And we're live. Finally. How's it going, Eric?
Not bad. How are you doing?
Ooh, technology is being funny today.
Yeah, it sure is. It's been really annoying with us trying to go live. We're a little late again because
It's
some of our camera software is being crashy.
the internet adds the most fun wild card to any system.
It sure does.
Hopefully, we're streaming strong as we try to do every week. Um, yeah, so if you're joining us now, we stream usually live at 6 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday. This week it's a bit different. We're going to be taking holiday break, so we'll be gone for a couple of weeks, and we'll be back on the first week of January. But for that, I think we're going to be doing a year in recap of what happened at Sonic Bloom, what we've kind of achieved as a company, what we've achieved as our media presence, I guess. And we'll also talk about some of the quick news bites that have popped up. There's actually quite a few bigger news pieces, but none of it's really developed yet, so it's kind of hard to say exactly what it is, but we'll briefly cover those things. Eric, what else do we have in store for people?
I mean, did you kind of? Oh, yeah. I was like going through the list saying you got to kind of covered all of it. We're gonna talk today about some of our favorite games of the year from what we played ourselves, and speak to why those made the list. And then we're also going to provide a set of games that either came out this year or that we knew were available this year and just didn't have a chance to play, but they're on our top list of games to play.
Yeah, I'd love to do like a top 10 games this year, but I think I can speak for you as well. I'm just woefully behind on the amount of games I'm able to play. So all like the big titles that I should have played, I haven't got. Like I just started Guardians of the Galaxy, which
nice.
Is better than I thought it was going to be. But like that, I think that won Best Narrative Game at the Game Awards, and that's kind of my jam. So. I'm behind on that game. I probably should have played through it by this point in time, but
especially as you're also a Marvel fan.
Big Marvel fan, yeah. Already got my tickets to see Spider-Man on Saturday, so yep. So we'll be doing like a recap of the games that we thought were best. It's almost like all the games I played this year because I wasn't able to play a ton of them, but we'll talk about that as well. So join us for that. If you're tuning in, we stream on YouTube, which you may be watching us on, and Twitch. Either one you can catch us at the Sonic Bloom TV slug at the end, and you can watch the stream there. So let's just get into it, Eric.
Let's dive on in. All right.
Yeah. So let's really quickly recap some of the news. We can talk about some of the pieces that may be more interesting to us. I think I wrote down maybe four major things that are going on, two of which are yet developing. So I guess we can talk about that. So first bit of news as a tail end from our last broadcast.
Yeah, the Game Awards situation. And situation is, the show happened last week.
We streamed before it. Yeah.
Right before it. We kind of both we ended the stream and sort of turned on the Game Awards show to have on the background or watch. Game of the year went to It Takes Two.
Yeah.
Which I believe is published by EA.
Published by EA from the developing team that did Brothers and A Way Out, which was published by EA as well. Brothers, I don't think was, but they're a
small studio.
Small studio, multiplayer based or cooperative game based development. All their games have been strong cooperative exercises in game design, and this is no different. So,
yep.
It was slightly, I guess, controversial. I don't think people exactly expected it to win. And weirdly, it was nominated for quite a few categories, but won very few of them, but did win Best Game of the Year. So, yeah. Sometimes you look at those and you're like, okay, if it didn't win Best Design, it didn't win Best Narrative, and it didn't win, then you're like, but it won Best Game. I guess it did all of those well enough, but just enough to clinch the top game, but not enough to clinch any of its specific categories.
Right.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Like just as a personal reaction to the Game Awards, I was a little bit shocked at just how much of it was game trailers and announcements versus actual awards in many of the categories, and we discussed them in our last show. Many of those categories were just like they just read them off. They're like, here are the nominees, and the winner is this, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
What happened to like the Oscar style like show clips and then call the person? Like, I actually wanted to see some of those and show reasons why those games made that list, but
Yeah, I mean, it's a little disappointing that it is so advertiser heavy.
yeah,
It's worse than the Super Bowl, 100%.
by
There's
a large margin.
yeah, its primary focus is on game trailers and advertisements that happen in between it, which I get that they have to pay for, this pretty big event, and they can't charge enormous sums for the commercial time they have.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, well, what's the point of the show? Is it game trailers and advertisements, or is it awards and actually honoring the industry? And I think Jeff did a pretty good job at coming out the gate, going like, "Hey, this is about the industry. This is what we respect. This is what we want out of the industry." But
Yeah.
then fails to deliver on the rest of it, which is like really honoring, the tons and tons of development time that goes into any game anybody plays, and honoring the people who essentially are creditless in making sure that you have an awesome game to play. Sink like 40 hours in, and that's I think the thing that bugged me the most about the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, people being on the industry side, I'm guessing that so first of all, it was extremely extravagant, right? They had Sting open the music with a musical number to the show. They had the two orchestral pieces as like breaks partway through, which were pretty cool. Like it was, no doubt it was super interesting. It had sort of followed a little bit of the model of the Oscars in that regard. However, like part of it was like, wait, how are they paying for this? And then you realize they're paying for it with all the time that we're spending watching this. We get very little show and many ads, like many ads. This is they marketed this to game publishers and game studios, saying, pay us $10,000-$15,000 more, whatever, for a spot. We will play your game's announcement in front of millions of gamers. And it was a way to like sort of a new way to get through E3 style announcements, where you can go direct to consumers, and you're getting your message mixed in with a whole bunch of other publishers and some of your own competition who are clearly putting up their stuff. But this industry is rarely a like, I'm putting forth this thing and your thing is competing directly against mine. In most cases, that type of thing leads to people buying two copies.
Right.
So it's just like, for me, it was a little bit like, okay, well, can we just do this as the trailer show that sprinkles awards in? Because that's sort of what it was.
Yeah, I mean, so for that, I was kind of disappointed in it. I think the industry does deserve like a real award show. If a movie takes 2 years from concept to development to getting shot and then being put on in cinema, and there's maybe 200 people supporting it, and that gets awarded and given like proper pomp and circumstance, it's like the game industry should get the same, because games now rival budgets of movies easily, and also have hundreds and hundreds of contributors that really deserve to be honored for the content that you get to enjoy at home. So, I wish maybe we'll see a change. I know for the Game Awards, they had a bit of an issue going from, because due to COVID and lockdown, like they had it virtual last year. They had to kind of have it semi-virtual this year. I mean, I'm sure they're struggling, but they really need to refocus what the point of the award show is, and maybe not make it just an advertising opportunity. All right, so like jumping to the next bit of news, I'm sure most people have heard about this, but PlayStation Studios, they're actually supposedly putting together a rival to Game Pass, or rival to Game Pass. I'm not sure if they actually will ever commit that far, but they want to have their streaming service more competitive with what the Game Pass package offers. They're calling it Project Spartacus, which is kind of funny. Yeah. But it's going to be like a multi-tiered package. It all gets rolled into PlayStation Plus. So PlayStation Plus will now have multiple tiers. The most interesting part is that one of the tiers is likely to be a retro game package where you'll have access to back catalogs going all the way from PS1 up to PS3. And then you're going to see the regular PlayStation Now aspect of it where you have, a handful of PlayStation 4 titles and some PlayStation 5 titles that they make available to stream and download from that service.
Yeah, so it could be similar. The retro stuff could be similar to kind of how Nintendo does their online side of things. So this might be Sony saying, like, let's reshuffle and make ourselves competitive with both the other major console platform owners, and we'll tier it. Like, we'll put different packages in different tiers.
The thing I just don't think they're going to be able to do, and they won't be willing to do, is make their first party titles available day and date like Microsoft has been willing to do. And fundamentally, you're not going to be able to have a competitive package, because what Microsoft was able to do is take, say, Xbox Live, roll it into Game Pass, and then say, by the way, you no longer have to have Xbox Live to play games online. You buy Game Pass and you just get this wealth of titles available to you. And PlayStation is still at the point where they say, no, you need to have PlayStation Plus in order to play games online. And then we give you some free games per month, which is of our choosing. Even if they expand it to say, okay, well, there's game streaming now, we provide a certain amount of games available to you for free as part of the larger PlayStation Plus package. They're already bumping up to what Game Pass charges per month for the same offer, and you don't need to have an Xbox anymore to make use of Game Pass. You just have to be able to download the app and use it. So I'm not really sure PlayStation will really have a competitive service, but they'll make PlayStation Plus more interesting to people who already have PlayStations and are already putting down, whatever, $5 per month to be online.
Mm-hmm.
So, any other information on that?
No information, speculation. I could go on, but I think that sort of covers what we know so far from the rumor mill and what was it? It was like slides that certain people in the journalistic industry had seen.
Right.
Like Bloomberg. I think Bloomberg.
Bloomberg, I think, was the first to report it. Yeah.
Yep.
As they do. I have no doubt it's credible. It's just a matter of like what is really going to be offered. Will they just add more content to PlayStation Plus to make it more valuable? And will they then add tiers that make it more like thinking of it as separate products? Like I don't think it's fair to say it's Game Pass competitive. I think it's fair to say Sony is going to do more to add more service to their PlayStation Plus package and to upsell, for a couple $, more per month, using content that they already have access to. So who knows? I'd also be willing to say that if it proves valuable enough to Sony as a value driver, mm-hmm. you may end up seeing games release day and date. It's just a matter of whether or not they see the sort of performance they want out of it.
Right.
So, all right, next bit of news, Eric.
Yeah, so the Xbox documentary, which we sort of chatted about, was that last week? Maybe the week before?
Yeah, I think it was the week before when we were talking about Xbox's 20th anniversary.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That documentary is now available for streaming. And early reports say that it's not bad, as I understand it.
People are pleasantly surprised. Apparently it's a well-produced documentary. And the aspects of it are Microsoft is willing to not omit its past failures and mistakes. Yeah, so it especially ones that like stick out in people's minds.
The big controllers, the beefy
large controller, yeah, like
Red Ring of Death.
Yep.
The Xbox One launch and their subsequent marketing of it.
Yeah, all those things which I think have been a thorn in their side, major failures on their behalf that they're willing to own,
which is good.
Yes. No, I mean, it is good.
It's how you grow.
Yes. And it's also if you want to uh, if you
Reframe.
want to, yeah, reframe and like repackage your brand, which
Yeah.
Microsoft is 100% doing right now with the Xbox brand.
Yeah, big time.
The 20th anniversary was a good example of this. Like they're taking a step back, going, "Who is our core audience? How do we talk to them and make them feel important?" And so there's like a total sea change in the way that they've been doing their marketing lately. And I think the documentary falls in line with this.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about it being an objective document of?
I still think it's going to be a part of the marketing strategy, and there's no way I'm going to be able to watch it and say this is, what's the term? This is 100% objective. Like
Yeah.
there's going to be someone. Microsoft paid the bill, and therefore there's at the end of the day, I expect if I watch it that I'll come out with a positive image in my mind of Microsoft and Xbox. Not to say that I don't already have that from my other experiences with Microsoft. And, Microsoft's a big company. There are products I struggle with, and there are products that I really enjoy. But in terms of like Xbox, I have nothing against the Xbox.
Yeah. I think it's just going to paint like a rosier picture than what was probably the frustration that you're dealing with when you got like a red ring of death and they were being obstinate about replacing it or something like that.
Right. To be fair, my recollection, I think I hit Red Ring of Death one time, and I had a very easy time replacing it. But I could also just have been lucky. I know they did a better job than Sony did with my PS3. When I got my first PS3, I had to ship it. What's that?
The PS3, the Sony had taken such a washing on the profitability of the PS3 that they were very unwilling to make changes or to be generous with their replacement and refurbishing or like reworking of your product if it ran into any problems.
Yeah, they immediately opened my PlayStation 3 straight from Toys R Us, the $600 model or whatever it was. Like I think I got it for $450 or something. It was on flash sale. They were trying to get rid of all their inventory. I don't remember the details, but I got it home and I turned it on and the fan was like, I was like, that's not right. So I called Sony and they were like, okay, mail it in. And when I got it back, you know how it had that piano finish, that like really shiny piano finish? The ends of it were all buffed. They'd all been scratched and crapped up. And I was like, do you not respect your own product? Like, how is this acceptable to take a brand new PS3 and return it in this condition? But it worked. So I didn't bother to try to go back because I was like, this isn't worth it. But at any rate, yeah.
Yeah, but going back to the documentary,
sure,
not about Sony or PlayStation. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think it's 100% within their trying to rebrand themselves and owning up to their mistakes and then repainting themselves in a rosier picture. And I guess if you're like a diehard Xbox fan, you must feel really good about them acquiring huge publishers.
Yeah, especially as those games start to see the light of day. Yeah,
but overall, like acquisitions of publishers that are as large as they are under Microsoft is not great for an industry. I mean, it's not great for any industry. No. For the industry and not great in general. It's great for Xbox Game Pass if they get it off the ground, but then it also like what is a service-based future mean for games and the gaming industry as a whole? Like these things will shift. Some people are not going to like it, I think you have to turn a blind eye to some of the other aspects of Microsoft as they try to paint themselves as like a really benevolent game company.
Yeah, we'll see. It's up to sort of Sony and Nintendo to come forth with their answers. If they can provide compelling products, then we the consumers win because now they're competing. And Microsoft is ahead in the game right now with Game Pass. I haven't played it, but all reports seem to indicate that it's pretty awesome.
No, I mean, absolutely. It's a fantastic deal for what is on offer.
Yeah.
And the fact that they push for it to be broadly available as a streaming platform, but now we're dealing with the fact that like they can lock up a lot of their games behind an Xbox wall. So play Game Pass. I do like the fact that I can pay like $10 and not have to own another console, though. And I think it's a smart move by Microsoft in order to pivot into a more profitable position than dealing with game console generations as they have in the past. It's just a matter of like, how is this going to affect the industry? And it's not all going to be good.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can weather the storm.
Yes. All right. Last bit of news. We kind of been following the Activision
Blizzard.
Yeah, Activision Blizzard and the whole like game developer abuse that they've been handing out. It's been a long-standing issue. It's a long-standing issue within the industry, how game development companies treat the game developers, how women, how minorities, there's a wealth of issues that is long documented, and Activision is the latest one, with a lot of people getting very unhappy with the way that they've been treated at the company. That information coming to the surface, being reported on, and then I think the latest thing that happened was Bobby Kotick, the CEO of Activision Blizzard, was alleged to be well aware of everything and shielding people who were actually the abusers in this case.
From repercussions.
Yeah, from repercussions. So basically, the worst that you can do as a leader in a company is not hold the people accountable for the rest of the people in your company. Right. So as a result, there's been a huge strike, and efforts to unionize are actually materializing and beginning to congeal, which is a big topic in the game industry because there are tons and tons of developers. Unionization is kind of important because the standard of healthcare, employment, benefits varies greatly from company to company, and usually varies greatly based off of the performance of the company at the time.
Yeah.
If they're doing well, you'll get lunch, you'll get fed lunch, you'll get paid, you'll get compensated well. If they're doing poorly, you're going to get run through the grinder, and it's kind of like your
long hours,
yeah,
and no overtime pay, that kind of thing.
As much as they can get away with. And now it seems to be unionizing, and Activision's stocks have taken a dive, and this may mean broader unionization of the industry within the United States.
This isn't new, by the way. The conversation within the industry to unionize has been going on for quite a while.
Yes,
there are concerns probably for decades now, in particular due to concerns of just crunch. I mean, we've already seen several lawsuits, right, about the games industry and the employment practices in California. Something like 15 years ago, there was the big was it like wives or spouses VA or something like that? It was the lawsuit, which was all about people basically being told you're either working 80 hours a week or you don't have a job anymore, and not being paid overtime. And it took a lawsuit for that to get some sort of compensation for all that time and effort that was being put in. Since then, at the very least, there have been these conversations about when are we gonna unionize, and Justin, did you see the response from the heads of Activision Blizzard about the
only in headline only, so I'm not quite aware of the specific language they used.
Yeah, it was. I read the missive because I saw the headline and I clicked into it, and someone had copied the message that was sent to all employees about this, and it started with something like, "We support your right to unionize. We think that's great. And this is a decision that every individual needs to make for themselves. Just be aware that you are signing away your right to represent yourself in issues that come up with us as the company or with the greater overall company," which, given the positive spin of the rest of it, was sort of like, that seems awfully two-handed. I mean, this may just be my personal read of it, right? I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what the speak would be there, but like my understanding is that like you should never really have to be in a position to want to represent yourself against a large corporation.
Right.
Like that seems sort of silly. Like there aren't many great examples where that leads to anything positive other than in some really, really unfortunate circumstances. And this isn't limited to the games industry. This is industries in general where like there was a sexual harassment lawsuit and it settled out of court. Right. Great. And it was like one person against the head brass of some company and that got settled out of court. And then as part of that settlement, everything was sealed and everyone shut up. But the person walked away with like $1.5 million, whatever.
Right.
Well, sure, there's a lot of effort and work that goes into that type of thing. No one ever wants to be in that position.
Not only that, but like, yeah, maybe if it was an open shut case, but you know, like a company like Activision will pay lots of money to bury you under paperwork, and if you even have a legitimate case and lawyers willing to do it for pro bono or at least until it settles, but like a lot of the times it's like you get a gag order on you and you get to walk away with $1 million because you were singled out of a group of people and harassed for your orientation or your race or whatever else, and then you have like a clear-cut suit or disability for that matter, but yeah, unionization pretty much is going to allow the union to collectively argue for everybody and come to the defense for everybody when a systemic issue comes up. And clearly, an individual cases are not enough to cause systemic changes if the CEO of Activision Blizzard is shielding bad people. So I mean, like, I don't know. I can say it's the industry's worst fear. It's going to drive up the cost of development, especially at AAA studios. I don't think that's so much of a problem because there are a single Call of Duty game is going to pull in billions of dollars in revenue.
Or I don't know about billions, millions.
Billions, like almost every other Call of Duty on a single release, they've been able to pull in like 1.2 billion in profit.
Okay, well,
yeah, I mean, you think about it, and they sell 8 million games at $60 a piece.
Yeah, but that's 48, right? 48 million.
That's not 48 million. If they sell 8 million.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. I'm really bad math.
Which is weird because you're an engineer.
Yeah,
just long day. I guess
that's why everything I write has bugs. 48 million. What was it? 48.
8 million times say $40 profit, or like say even a $30 profit.
That would be 240 million.
Hanging along for this. What was that?
240 million.
In profit? Yeah.
Yeah, in profit. Yeah.
And if I recall, you look at like Grand Theft Auto 5, what, 5?
Oh, well, that one, yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, like that is now what, like highest selling game ever. I think it's like 32 million copies sold.
Yeah, it's generated over 1 billion in retail sales.
Yeah, that's retail sales. Like I'd be curious as to what it generated in online DLC and in content packets. Yeah, which is where also these companies make a lot of money. In just like,
and it did that at 145 million sales.
145 million. Oof,
yeah,
man.
Fiscal year 2014 was 33 million, and then it goes 18, 14, 16, 15, 13, 21, 15. Something about 2020 made people go out and buy that game in droves.
Yeah, I don't know what though. It's kind of strange, huh?
All right, weird. It's like people suddenly had time on their hands for something and a need to escape. Anyway,
I mean, so looking at Call of Duty, 2019 was 30 million sales. So Call of Duty
is that across the brand or for a single game?
It was for whatever. Yeah, I assume it's across the brand for 2019, which they might have had 2 Call of Duty titles selling at the same time because they usually have one per year. and let's see, do we have numbers for 2020? Yeah, 30 million. No, that's a single title. That was Modern Warfare, the new one, was 30 million. Cold War was 30 million in 2020. That was the one that was released in 2020. So yeah, they make a ton off of those games. And I would say that the quality of life for the developers does not improve significantly, even with massive success of those games. So it's not like a surprise that you see this sort of backlash they're getting. I think it's a long time coming in the industry. Whether or not you're for or against unions, I think is not the point. I think the point is that the developers are getting to the point where they feel unionization is the solution to systemic issues that Activision and other game companies have failed to address year after year, allegation after allegation. And you know, It's like, I don't know. It's unfortunate that this continues to happen in the game industry. And
very unfortunate.
It's not a surprise that unionizing is a solution people are going to. And I think it's going to be a lesson that Activision has to learn before they make any significant change.
Yeah.
All right. So that covers the news. I think we spent more time on it than I had intended. But let's kind of recap. Like, this is the year in review part of the show. Now we're going to focus on, as a company, Sonic Bloom, which is Eric and I and a handful of contractors we work with. We develop tools on Unity that sort of is in the game music area, game audio area that we care about a lot. We have quite a few people who've purchased and follow what we do, and then this year we kind of pushed for our marketing. So what did we achieve this year, Eric?
Well, we got through a grand total of 34 episodes of this very show that we're doing, which is a heck of a lot more than I had originally thought. But
plus we did others too, to be fair.
We did. Yes, that's right. We had other stuff that we other like kind of YouTube video series that we did leading into this.
Yeah, we did Ready State Loop, which is kind of like the precursor to this. We had our own channel that said, why would we do it under a different brand? So let's rebrand and do it under Sonic Boom Live.
Yeah.
So 34 issues plus. We did launch our own Discord channel, which mostly for game developers, but we finally got around to giving a space for the community around our tools and hopefully around Sonic Boom Live. For people to talk to us directly. So we've got well over 100 people in there now. That's a year of mostly developers jumping in on that, but it's free for people to join. You go to our website and you can join in there and join the conversation. But we talk mostly about game development, particularly with game audio development.
Yep. And occasionally we throw little news items about game audio that show up, or interesting game experiences we'll chat about for like that do something particularly interesting with game audio.
Yes.
A lot of that gets thrown in there. Yeah.
And some of the devs that are like in the middle of working on maybe the next top game is hanging out in there too, usually asking questions about how to do some specific integration. So it's a cool place to hang out. What else we got?
Yeah, so we have worked on and finally basically wrapped up our work on our own demo for our Choreographer Cinema initiative, which is we took our technology, which we originally built with the mindset of the developers can use this to make really cinematic and interesting gameplay experiences. And then most people used it for rhythm game type mechanics and everything, which is great. But we decided that communicating the purpose is very difficult. So we should actually just build an example of, what we imagine the next phase of games is going to enable. And that was this demo. We put this Choreographer Cinema demo together, and we've managed to finally kind of put a cap on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's really our stake in saying, here's what we think the future of game audio is. Here's what we think the interactivity will look like. Yeah. And here's a way to experience that without us having to build a full game. But it is it's a pretty robust demo. We had to hone a lot of the design aspects of it, a lot of iteration to get where we're at today. And I think we'll be making it available on Discord soon. We still have to do a couple last touches on it, but I think in the new year you can expect to see that. So if you want to check out what we think the future of game audio is and interactivity, head on over to a Discord server, and you'll be able to download it soon.
Yep.
The next thing, we are actually beginning to see the fruits of our labor. Like we've been available, our tools have been available for years, and yeah, like you said, Eric, most people have approached it with trying to make rhythm games, games that are similar to like Guitar Hero, or honestly, name a music rhythm game, and people are trying to recreate it in some form.
Yeah.
But we're beginning to see quite a few games that either go in that route and make like a Beat Saber like game that really advances on the VR formula for that, or we're seeing games that are getting a lot of buzz and attention using our technology, which I think is super cool. One of those games actually is Inscription, which was nominated for Game of the Year.
I don't remember.
I think it was nominated for Game of the Year.
Yeah, it was. I mean, not to say that our technology was the core of the experience, but
no, it wasn't. But it was used in a supplemental way to certain experiences in that game.
Yep.
It's just awesome to see it. It's awesome to see the technology being used more than just saying this is a straight up rhythm action game.
Right.
And being used in ways that we think is more thinking of audio more than just a tool to make rhythm action games. Thinking of audio as music, and audio and sound effects are more core to an experience, and they shouldn't be just sidelined. And especially coming from the indie space, we feel like indie developers are doing some awesome things. Now we're just hoping that AAA kind of picks up on it and starts putting some development power behind it.
Yep.
Next piece, Eric.
Yeah, we were able to finally start getting interviews with some of our developer friends, where we got to bring them onto the show and ask them hopefully insightful questions about their experiences, what they've worked on, what their passions are, and what their experience has been in the industry. So far, that's been for this year we were able to interview Ichiro Lamb, who is the head of Dejoban Games, Rich Vreeland, also known as Disaster Piece, composer, and Damien Kaspauer, who is also in the game audio space and is currently working at Audio Kinetic, who make Wise, which is one of the major game audio engines used by major AAA games.
Yeah.
Good times. Good conversations.
Yeah, good conversations. Most of those are posted on YouTube.
Yep.
If you're curious about game audio, I would check out the Rich Vreeland and Damien Kaspauer interviews. Ichiro's, he's just been in between like the indie space and like small developer area for a long time.
As this industry is,
as the industry has evolved, and he's got such an interesting perspective on everything. What he thinks of the future and where things are going. He's got some good opinions on that and good insight. So you can get that out of that interview if you check out the older videos on YouTube and Twitch. I guess the last piece is we're doing a pretty cool contract job for Adobe. I don't know how much of it we can talk about, Eric.
Yeah, it's nothing like we're rebuilding, the engine of some major application or something. But we've been working on, what I can say is that we have been working with them on building a debugger for some of their third-party developers that work with their tools. That's been heavily needed. This is probably like some boring stuff for a lot of people, but for us, it's sort of an interesting problem to work on. And the folks at Adobe have been fantastic to work with. Yeah. So that's been awesome.
And it's part of a long running, I guess, history we have with Adobe, because we did develop some products that worked on Premiere and, within their plugin development space, we had spent years poking at what we thought could be improved and asking questions. And eventually, I think this led to Adobe officially contracting us to do some work for them. which I mean, yeah, it's not video game space per se, but I think it's one of our achievements for the year.
I agree. Yeah. We were able to not only start the contract, but get it very close to finishing, and such that users have been able to use the fruits of our labor, and the reports are very positive. So that's, I'll put that in the win column for us.
Yeah. Anything else that you can think of that I didn't write down?
I moved across the country. That was just more of a personal thing, I guess.
I
And
moved across Texas.
you did. And then we as a company managed those moves without any major hiccups. So that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got to see the Grand Canyon.
I did, actually. I got to go down into it a little bit. That was very interesting and humbling.
It's not for the faint of heart.
That is a very big scar. No, it is not. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the last aspects of it.
Sweet.
I had thought about doing like a what are we looking forward to, but I think at the beginning of the year, this is what we'll do is we'll look at the games that are coming up and talk about the games that we are most excited for. We've kind of done that before, where we've looked at music games that have been this like in our forethought about what we think is interesting. At this point, I think I'm pretty good at being able to judge a game by its trailers and content. Not always true, because some game developers can make really awesome games but do terrible marketing jobs.
100%.
All too common, but especially ones that are marketed well, you can sometimes pick apart where you're like,
there are also experiences where if you look at screenshots or a trailer, you'll be like, eh. And then you look at someone playing it and you're like, wait, what's happening in this game? Like, for me, that would be an example of that was Loop Hero, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. So, which games did you enjoy that you were able to play this year that you enjoyed most? Right. And you can rattle through them, or you can focus on a couple to talk about them a little bit more.
I'll rattle through them, and I'll just try to keep it brief, so that I don't want to go off in huge tangents. The first one that comes to mind is Ghosts of Tsushima, which I spent a bunch of time living in Japan. I speak Japanese, so I put the game in Japanese mode with subtitles because I don't have all the vocab. But that game was fantastic. They just top to bottom, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was a little bit concerned with some of the like realism. I have this uncanny valley when it comes to this type of game where like humans can just climb up mountains, and you're like, okay. But at the end of the day, when you're playing it, it doesn't matter. The game is amazing. I think I've put in 140 plus hours into that game, and I'm on the Iki Island expansion and enjoying it. Last of Us Part 2 was one heck of an experience. Boy, was that an emotional roller coaster, and it sort of made you ask questions. Really enjoyed it. Spider-Man Miles Morales I had played through Spider-Man and enjoyed the heck out of it. Spider-Man Miles Morales was like a polished version of that Spider-Man thing. It was very much like a focused gem. Amazing. Pixel Junk Monsters 2. This is a blast from the past. But this is a PS4 game from 2014 or 2015 or something.
Yeah, I think it was really launched, or not a launch title per se, but I think it was like within the first year or so.
Yeah, it still got some bugs, but you know what? Like, I played it with Justin and a mutual friend of ours. Just like we still play that game. They've been playing it for a lot longer, and then they were like, "You should get this and join it. It's on sale." So I picked it up, and during the pandemic, it became a way for us to, like all friends from high school and earlier, get to reconnect and play in a cooperative gameplay experience. Similarly, Diablo 3, we played that a bunch, and it was a very fast experience, but it held up for the length of the main storyline, and we got to play that a bunch. And it was I'd already played the PC version years ago, but the console version I'd heard the console versions of Diablo were good. I didn't expect them to be as good as they were, and I thoroughly enjoyed that experience as well. Hades, I played through and found was actually, excuse me, I didn't play through it. I haven't completed it yet, but I have been enjoying the crap out of it. Just in terms of the roguelike game loop that they have is great, and I like the ability to sort of pick your weapons at the beginning and change your play style and try different things throughout the loop. It's great. And then in the last several days, I picked up the Matrix Awakens experience that they released last week, roughly this time last week. And I have to say it was one of my favorites because of the I'm not talking about like walking around the city and seeing all the neat stuff and being able to, turn on the different rendering modes, which was cool, but that would not make my top list. Except the experience of like playing through one of those chase scenes from the Matrix movies. They did a surprisingly good job of like recreating that experience. And I just was like sitting there with a grin on my face while I was playing through that game. Experience for that. What was it, like 5 minutes?
Yeah,
It's a sweet 5 minutes.
Five 10 minutes of core action in that game.
Yeah, it's a good 5 or 10 minutes though, and it's free, so you can't really complain about that.
And you can kind of get a glimpse at what the future of game rendering techniques kind of look like before we're actually like in full swing of next generation game development, which we're still not in.
Right.
So.
And I know I talked to you about this. I was pretty sure that they weren't going to be using nanite in that experience, and they definitely used nanite in that experience. The whole thing was basically a nanite demo.
Yeah, the city, especially the way they handle facade and geometry, is all nanite based and
very good.
Beyond some object pop in from if you go up into the sky.
I saw that.
Seamless sort of geometric changes is kind of impressive.
It's just 100% dynamic LOD.
Yep, and it works exceedingly well.
Yeah.
It's just they don't have it with certain objects, and the objects pop in. So like when you're going this is totally seamless, and then you play it, and you're like, okay, there's this object pop in.
Right, and I saw there were definitely, if you go above the city, you see moments where there's Z fighting between some of the texturing and whatever. I figured those are edge case bugs. They'll work them out. The one thing that bothered me about it was the visuals. If you got really close to the cars as they were driving by, there was a lot of weird ghosting shit, like shadow ghosting, that would happen as they drove by, which may have been like a particle effect or some other shadowing effect that they used for the game. They'll improve it.
I'm excited for like when games actually finally fully commit to next gen and like the next gen capabilities. It'll be interesting to see how games evolve, and not just like whatever a 10-minute demo that's just to show off rendering in an advertising partnership with Matrix. It's it's when they actually try to make a game that utilizes the tech.
How about you, Justin? What were your favorite games from the year that you played?
I mean, for the most part, these are the games that I actually were able to complete this year.
Sure.
Not to say that they were bad or good. It was that if I finished it, it's because it captured my attention long enough to say, yeah, I'll actually get through the whole thing.
Right.
And a lot of these are games that I should have played a long time ago, but never got around to it. But Ghost of Tsushima is on that list. I sunk, 60 hours in that game, which I did not expect from an open world game. Usually they don't hold my attention for very long. And I feel like I'm just wasting my time. And there was a degree of that towards the end of that game. But it really held my attention. I really liked the combat system. I really had a lot of fun playing it. And I'm actually really impressed as to how far Sucker Punch has gone as a development company, or like as a game developer. Because their previous games that were also open worlds, great games, don't get me wrong, but they were not nearly as polished. They didn't feel as complete, and they didn't feel as story driven. So Ghost of Tsushima really felt like a leap forward for them. So I'm really excited to see what they'll do next which is probably Ghost of Tsushima 2, or who knows what they're working on. Streets of Rage 4. The developer behind this has like made it a point to focus on like reinventing like 2D arcade games that we all love from like the early 90s. Like Simpsons Arcade, that sort of thing. And like re-envisioning it with modern controls, but not messing it up, which most games, for whatever reason, were like, okay, we're going to take a 2D side scroller and redo it with 3D. And it's always broken. Like it does not feel good. It does not feel smooth. And these guys just nailed it. It's like really engaging. It's a lot of fun. They fix a lot of the like difficulty issues in that era of games, and they scale it nicely. So I don't know. I really enjoyed that. The controls are rock solid, and I'm really excited to actually their next game. Yeah, the Turtles game. But I guess we could probably focus on that on games to look forward to in 2022.
Right.
Finally got Tetris Effect. It's a Mizuguchi game. I mean, it's Tetris, right? Like, it's nothing more than Tetris in the sense that, like, mechanically, it's exactly what
You're
you'd expect
playing
from a Tetris
Tetris,
game.
yeah.
But the experience that he built around it is really incredible. It's like this, like sometimes you need a game that you can just kind of zen out to, and this game does that really well.
Nice.
It's like floods you with like an RL experience, and like really plays with sound effects in the audio design in any given level and space that really feels great. So just having fun going back and just playing like a game like Tetris in such a new and compelling way is nothing short of amazing, given that there are so many Tetris games that are awful representations of what the original game was. Like, Tetris Effects feels as good as the original and then adds to it. So good on them. Hellblade.
Yep.
Finally got around to playing that. Ninja Theory is an amazing developer. They frequently get enormous titles and kind of flub it at the end, mainly because I think the scale of their development prowess is not on big, it's on like kind of more narrowed, and that's what they do with Hellblade. It's a way more focused game, and it allows Ninja Theory to sort of like shine where they're most effective, and that's like telling character story and really engaging experiences. They didn't go crazy on puzzle solving. They didn't go crazy on combat system, but as a package, it's really great. And if you're not aware, I don't know how you wouldn't be aware, it's about someone who's, suffers from mental illness. It's like delusional schizophrenia. So the way they present it in the game is really interesting, because you actually start to you end up in the space and can sympathize with the character, which from the outside you may not have the same sort of empathy for, but now you're in the spot of that person. You're hearing what someone might be experiencing. I know they worked with people who suffered from that like condition.
Malady.
Yeah. And tried to represent it as best they could to really give you an empathetic look at what it's like for someone like that. And then they worked it into the entire game design, which is amazing as well. So definitely recommend playing with headphones. And if you don't, I don't know what you're doing. Superliminal, I like puzzle games. That one's a clever one. It's not a long game. It takes maybe like 5 hours to complete, but it's definitely clever. If you can pick it up for like under $10, it's worth it. And that one basically deals with perspective scaling. You pick up an object that's an apple, looking at it like right up close is a small apple, but looking at down a corridor, it's a giant apple. So you can like kind of pick up an apple that's small to you and then drop it in a corridor, and it's big depending on sort of the place that you set it down. And so they had a lot of fun with that. It's a clever little game, but I had a lot of fun playing it, especially at the beginning of 2020 when things didn't seem so great. So, or 2021 when things didn't seem so great. And it was a year of like all the indie titles that I should have played and never got around to. A Plague's Tale, a small French developer, amazing what they pulled off in terms of rendering and artistry. It's a little janky around the edges, but it's really a stunning example of what like a small creative team can complete. It's an endearing tale. It's got some really interesting technical achievements that I'd love to see them advance on as they work towards the second one.
I was gonna say, good news. The second one was announced last week.
Not announced, no. It was actually like shown in gameplay. They announced it earlier. I want to say at E3 maybe.
Oh, they might have. Yeah, you're right. But they showed the first footage shown it last week.
Yeah. Good either way. I'm surprised that when I finally got around to playing it, I was sort of surprised at the level of artistry in it. Mm-hmm. But worth playing. If you poke at it, you can find the holes, but I don't think that's the point. And for a narrative driven game, I think it really exceeds at what it does. So
awesome.
All right, so those are my games. Basically, the games that I completed this year for the most part. But there's a bunch of games I didn't get around to. I'm sure you didn't either. What games do you wish you were able to spend the time with this year that you'll probably get around to next year?
Yeah, I like. I'll just try to make this quick. Inscription. That was one that came up, and even before I knew that our technology was in it, I watched. It came up on some game dev community. I'm on Slack or something, and I went to the Steam page and I watched the Steam page, and I was kind of sucked right into the example gameplay. I was like, this is wild. And I'm not normally a card player, like a card game type of person, but the odd, really creepy like aesthetics in the game were they drew me in immediately. And I now, especially now that I know that our tech is to be found inside of it, is like, yes, the clear option there. Loop Hero is one that someone had said that it looked, pretty engaging, and so I checked out a video of it, and someone did a let's play that was like an hour and a half long, and I was like, all right, I'll scan through this, and I clicked into it and basically got through the intro part of the video and then sat through the whole video because I was so enthralled as to what the game was doing and how it was working, and the game loop was just so interestingly tight. Returnal is a game that I would love to play. It won a whole bunch of accolades, looks amazing. I did see someone play through it in a sort of a live Let's Play experience over Discord, but I wasn't able to. I mean, clearly I wasn't the one holding the controller, but the story looked very intriguing, so I did want to check that out. Halo Infinite. I'm historically a Halo fan, like the campaign. I like this story. I read several of the books back in the mid-aughts. And was very interested to see how things would develop. And then sort of haven't been in it since the Halo 3 days. And with this being their like return to form and hearing some very good things about the campaign mode, I said, maybe I would love to check this out. It Takes Two. This was a game where I kind of passed. I think it was on sale on like the Black Friday sale for Sony's PlayStation Network. And I sort of passed over it, not really knowing what it was. And then at some point I was like, I think I heard about it on some community and went, I'll check out what this looks like. And then I was shocked at how touching it looked, about how much clearly love went into making that game and to make it sort of special. And, a developer friend of mine played through the entire game with his little kid, and he had nothing but praise for the game. So That is right there on the list. Streets of Rage 4, which you mentioned was a game that you really enjoyed from this year. Another friend of mine said the exact same thing, said it was incredible. And so with, multiple people now telling me this game's amazing, I figure I should play it. And then Ratchet and Clank: A Rift in Time. I haven't played a Ratchet and Clank game for more than a few minutes up until now. And the Ratchet and Clank: A Rift in Time game actually does some like some things with the loading that are very interesting to me. And I'd personally, more out of professional curiosity, want to play through this game rather than any history with the franchise. But like rendering techniques, what they're doing to leverage the PlayStation 5. This was sort of the first party title that came through as being focused on the new generation. It's something that I haven't had a chance to play through, but I really do want to play it. I will also admit that the playfulness of that series and from what I've seen of the trailers is sort of right up my alley in terms of like silly. So I'm all about that.
Yeah, I also think Insomniac as a development studio has really, like, they've always told stories in the Ratchet and Clank games, but they're always like cartoon level. Like it's never really that deep. But I think they've learned a lot from developing Spider-Man and like what it takes to tell a great story. And apparently, A Rift in Time has a lot more depth to it, narrative-wise, than any of the Ratchet and Clanks before it. So
that's great.
All
the more reason to.
Yeah, exactly. All the more reason.
How about you? What about your games?
Yeah, not unsurprisingly, Inscription has also made it on that list. Not so much because I'm like really into card games. It's more about the fact that it's about the metagame in Inscription and in the crazy places it takes you.
Yeah.
So and I love that sort of thing. Like I love Portal
Curveballs.
for that. Yeah, Portal
Yeah.
is one of those examples where there's just like, no, there's a metagame part to this, and it suddenly takes what you think you're learning to the next level, and then can do an awful lot for what you appreciate in a game. I'm certainly looking forward to it, and I think this is the third game
From the developer.
Yeah, from the developer. So at this point they're probably quite good at developing games and developing like these sort of meaningful experiences. And that's what I look for in a game more than anything else is meaningful experiences. I never got a chance to play Spider-Man Miles Morales. I did play the first one, but just never got around to it this year. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Psychonauts 2. I love the first one. I think Tim Schafer and the crew at Double Fine has always told really fun and created really interesting and endearing characters that have like quirks and explores different aspects of storytelling that you wouldn't get from say like Spider-Man, for instance. But they have no fear in exploring at Double Fine, and I know Psychonauts 2 may not be the most advanced title as the first one wasn't at the time, but it's the story and the characters that really sell you on it. And it's been like 8 years more since I last played Psychonauts, and would love to jump back into that world. Returnal's also on my list. I do not like roguelikes, but everything that studio has made I found really fun and enjoyable. Yep. So maybe they've just figured out the formula that takes roguelike and makes it something that I would be willing to sink my teeth into.
Sure.
I'd managed to avoid Demon Souls and Dark Souls and all those because I just know I won't have the patience to deal with it.
Yeah.
But Returnal might grab my attention. I at least want to try it and see if it grabs me. Hades. I'm talking about roguelikes. There's another one that everybody says, hey, it's the story that's being told that keeps you like glued to it. And if it's half as good as any other game from Supergiant, I would it's an automatic sell for me. So I'm just waiting to get my hands on it and give it a couple of weeks of my time to get through it. So and Game Pass. I know it's not a game, and I tried. Service. Yeah, I mean it's a service, but I haven't played with it yet. I did sign up for it, but their streaming system was not functional at the time. I could not get it to run on my system, and I could just willy-nilly pick up a game. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how they've advanced the technology and where the state of game streaming services are at this point, and whether or not I can look forward to future Xbox releases getting to enjoy those games without having to plunk down $300-400 on a console to enjoy it. I am really interested in what Microsoft's doing. I have trepidation about how far it can go, but to be in this industry, it's sort of to embrace the technological advances for better or for worse. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Sweet.
Do you have anything else, Eric, before we kind of wrap up the show?
No, I think that is about it. I mean, there are games that I'm very much looking forward to in the future.
Yes.
And then I'm sure if I gave it more thought, I could list off a whole slew of games that, I may have even purchased, but haven't had the chance to play because we have to adult sometimes. And responsibilities are real. But I think the picks, what I outlined there, kind of covers me.
Yeah, and like I said, next the beginning of the year, we're going to return after I think 2 weeks of enjoying our family and holiday time, and then we'll be back with more shows. I think we'll kick it off with a look forward to the year, what we plan to do, and what we are looking forward to from the game industry. There's a lot that's happening in the game industry. There's a lot of change that's happening, and I think this is probably going to be one of the most important game generations, probably since the PlayStation 1 generation. And I say that not because of the quality of the games, but I think as to how the industry is going to shift this year. like the sort of seismic impact that like mobile gaming had on the game industry. I think this changed the way game development is being looked at, the way game development is being looked at, and the way consumption is being looked at is radically different than ever before. So I think we can tap into that and sort of look forward. So with that being said, thanks everybody for this good year. I look forward to seeing you guys next year, and we'll see you then.
Yeah, stay safe and happy holidays and happy new year.
Take care, everybody.